Hello, everyone. Welcome to the table. Welcome to Come to the Table Ministry. I'm Tom Weaver, and I'm joined today by my good friend and repeated guest, Mark Denison from beautiful Bradenton, Florida. Mark, welcome in today. Appreciate you coming in, taking some time out to share with us today.
Tom, it's great to be with you always. Really good to see you.
You know, it's funny. I think a lot of people, I mean, you're a household name, right? In at least in a lot of circles for sexual addiction and brokenness and betrayal trauma with you and Beth and all that you do at Their Still Hope Ministry. But you've been at a lot of our stuff. You know, we're very well acquainted with each other's ministries and what we got going on. And it's funny. You've been to the retreats, you know, the retreats. You're coming back again this year, which is awesome. And I'm thinking, okay, what are we going to talk about? I'm thinking, we could talk forever because we just continue to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I figure we better make at least something, or we might be talking here forever. So good to have you back again. You were on a while back, and it's good to see you again. Maybe tell us a little bit about you and your wife, Beth, and what you've been doing over the last couple of years and how your ministry got started, and a little bit about yourself.
Well, yeah, it's always good seeing you. And, I know there's always new people watching and listening, so I appreciate the opportunity. Mm-hmm. We started There's Still Hope about 9 years ago on the heels of a 30-year pastoral ministry, which was in Texas because we're from Texas. And that ended because of a discovery made by someone in the church who actually saw my disclosure on my computer. It was part of my recovery. And so we needed to go somewhere, so we came to Florida to be near our son. And after a year or so, decided to let our problem become our platform. So we started preparing to launch this ministry, wanted to have a couple of years sobriety first, so we did that. And what we do at There's Still Hope is we do a lot of groups for guys in recovery, which I lead. We have some other guys that help lead a couple of groups as well. Mm-hmm. We have 3 groups just for pastors. We have a group just for doctors, a group just for military veterans, using a workbook that I've written called the Life Recovery Plan. The other thing I spent a lot of time on is one-on-one work with guys, taking them through my 90-day recovery program. Mm-hmm. Beth works with spouses that are in recovery from trauma, betrayal, and we also do couples groups. And really love it. In terms of what we've done lately, I have a new devotional book that will be out real soon. Excited for that, as well as a leader's guide to help guys lead our groups using our material in other locations. We've got some of those now that have started in the last year or so in the UK, in Canada, and Texas, Louisiana. But want to see more of that happen. So producing the leader's guide is going to go a long way toward that. Other than that, we're still doing what we've been doing for the last 7, 8, 9 years, and love it.
How long has There's Still Hope been around?
2017.
2017. And I think
let me save the trouble. That's 9 years.
What's
I could see the wheels were turning.
You're funny. Here we go. Now it started.
Didn't take long, did it?
What I was thinking was, I think we met in 2019 out in Colorado Springs at a great event out there that we met at, and it was just awesome to meet a lot of people out there. Yes. And we got to be connected there, and we've been friends ever since, like I said earlier. And it's just good having you back and good having a conversation with you again.
So, and I agree. When we first met, I didn't know who you were at all, but it's from my perspective and Beth's perspective, you guys are incredible partners for us with the things that you're doing. You do a better job of events than anybody I've ever seen. And it's an honor to be a part of that every couple of years. And I need to push it harder with my own guys because it is so good. The organization, the structure, the location where you do these events throughout the year. And so anyone hearing this that's not been to Maryland really needs to go, because these are world-class, great speakers, phenomenal scenery, the setup, the organization, the pricing, the whole thing. There's nothing better for men, women, or couples.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good segue into everyone can come to our good conference that we got, the Bridge to Intimacy Conference, coming up next month here in Mechanicsville, Maryland. It's March 20th and 21st. So throw that out there to anybody listening or watches this later. Tickets still available for that. We're looking forward to having Dr. Jake Porter, Dr. Barb Steffens return again this year. So great event we got coming up there. So appreciate you plugging that and again joining us. For those that are listening live, this is live, obviously, and you can put comments or questions in the comment section if you want. We can throw them up on the screen if it's an appropriate question. We can throw them out to Mark, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there, and we'll try to get them answered as best we can. So, wanted to kick this thing really off with. I think it's when I texted you last week about, hey, you want to get together. I've been laid up for the past 2 weeks after Achilles surgery and reading your stuff a lot. And one of your recovery minutes came across early in the morning, as they always do. And everybody in our circles, too, just love your resource, the recovery minute that comes out every morning at 5:30 in the morning in your inbox. So this one really hit me. And I know we talked about what are we going to talk about today, and a little bit one of your previous books, most recent, I think, actually, is Advanced Recovery. And you write a lot of books. And this recovery minute on February 4th kind of struck me. And with your permission, I'd like to read it.
Sure.
Segue. Reading books is not enough. As a senior pastor, my personal library was filled with over 2,000 books. I donated my entire library to my seminary. I believe in books, but reading books is not enough. Head knowledge is not enough. No one relapses because they don't know what to do. They relapse because they don't do what they know. In Paul's final letter, he laments those who were, quote, always learning, but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. 2 Timothy 3:7. The Greek word Paul used for knowledge was a word used for a knowledge that comes by experience, by doing. In recovery, we learn by doing. Benjamin Franklin said it well. Tell me, and I forget. Teach me, and I remember. Involve me, and I learn. In the recovery step, you already know what to do. Now it's time to do what you know. So it was a great recovery tool last week that kind of prompted this conversation, I think. And we talked about what do we want to talk about. And I think long-term recovery, advanced recovery. You've been in sobriety for 11 years. And I guess share with some of the people what have been most instrumental in your success in recovery, maybe the top 6 things that you felt have really, really helped keep you solid in your recovery.
Yeah, and to underscore that recovery minute, it's so true. We have a lot of head knowledge. I was going to meetings, 12-step meetings for, I would say, a year and a half before I ever had 30 days of sobriety. I was learning stuff, but I wasn't applying it. And so as I look back over 11 years of unbroken sobriety, I made some notes about what is it that, if I could just summarize that in just a few things, they're the most profound for me. And I just happened to come up with 6 things. It could have been 3, could have been 8, but for me it was 6. The first one, and I think this is really profound, is to focus on systems more than sobriety. And what I mean by that is that it's really easy for us to set sobriety goals. I used to have a goal, I'm just going to never act out again. And I don't use that one anymore. Mm-hmm. My goal now is, I'm not saying I'll never act out. I'm just saying it won't be today. It's a 24-hour thing, because I don't make promises for days that God doesn't promise me. But regardless of what the goal is, no one has ever stayed sober because they had a goal of sobriety. It's a start, it's necessary, it's a part of it, but it doesn't do it. It's what we do behind that matters. Another way of saying it, James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits, that we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And so the most important thing I think I've learned for me in recovery is that regardless of what the goals are, or even seeking sobriety per se, what really matters is the system, the plan. So what am I doing every single day? What am I doing every week, every month, every year? And so I've got that system in place. The system is what keeps me sober. It's the recovery plan. It's the activities. It's the spiritual activities, the things I do, again, every day, every week, every month, every year. Mm-hmm. And as long as I stay within that system, whether my goal is to stay sober or not, I'm going to still get the benefit from it. Mm-hmm. I used an example in our groups this week that a guy goes to see his doctor. And the doctor says, you look good, you just need to lose 10 pounds. So he has a goal to lose 10 pounds. And so he cuts back on his calorie intake. He starts working out more. He averages 1,500 net calories per day. In 6 months, will he lose 10 pounds? Absolutely. What if he did the same thing, but he didn't have the goal? Well, he would have the same result. So setting goals for sobriety is important, but it's the systems we put in place that keep us sober.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. So of those systems, you want to share what have been some of those key components of your system?
Yeah, and I'll land on the last one though. Every day for me, and everyone's wired different. For me, it means before I get out of bed, reading at least one page of recovery material, doing a spiritual devotion that's not related to this issue, which I shift that around every few months just to keep it fresh. I pray the third step prayer, the seventh step prayer, the serenity prayer every morning. At night, I read scripture and also do some kind of recovery reading before I go to bed. That's kind of simple. I've been doing that for a long time. For weekly, I go to 2 recovery meetings for my own recovery apart from the groups that I lead. And when you ask guys, or when I ask guys, most of them have something they do every day and every week. But what they don't have is something they do every month or every year. So for me, every month is a recovery day. I try to take one day per month and just focus on recovery. And that doesn't mean I'm doing intense reading or therapy. It usually means a walk on the beach at night. It means going for a drive in the country, finding a new restaurant, getting away by myself, engaging a hobby, going to a museum, something like that, and maybe going to a meeting that I don't normally attend just to kind of keep things fresh. So having a recovery day once a month is huge. But probably the biggest thing for me in terms of system, and I started doing this about 7 or 8 years ago, is to do a personal retreat every year by myself, just getting away by myself. So I go to a place in Minnesota, and I've been going to the same place every year. No one else is there that I know. And I hike in state parks. I do a lot of riding, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation. Absolutely love it. It's my favorite week of the year. And so I would say to anyone hearing us right now as an example for that, I know that you put together a group that goes to Montana. That's fantastic. The events you have for any guys that are listening to this, go to Men Make Men, go to the table event every October, because it's an incredible way to get away once a year and do something like that. And there are guys that come there from all over the country, and they only know each other because they see each other then. And they'll reach out to me during the year and say, "Are you coming? Are you coming?" Because they just want to have that connection. So I think that's the overlooked part in the system for most people, is to have that anchor, whatever that looks like, once a year.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny you mentioned that retreat, or any retreat. With this, I know we talked about doing some as well, and the fact that this retreat, the Men Make Men retreat, and also the women's retreat that's in the fall as well, there's no guessing what we're there for, right? It's not a church retreat. It's not another retreat. It's not a marriage weekend. It's a retreat specifically for those that have struggled with sexual brokenness or sexual addiction. So that takes a lot of the stigma off of it right away. I just talked to a guy this week who said he really didn't want to come this past year. He just felt in his gut that this is not something he really wanted to become a part of, because he kept it so subdued and so below the surface with all his acting out behaviors. And he didn't really want to be fully known for who and what he has done over the past. And he said just coming this year was so powerful for him to be able to be with, over 100 guys struggling with the same thing, different stories, maybe different ways that they struggle, but their struggle with sexual brokenness, and the way to be able to just share that in small groups. He particularly liked the breakout sessions where you went and you talked about the previous session from the speaker, and it was just powerful for him to be able to sit there and have open dialogue about this. It's not something you can do in most churches. We're blessed by our church and have a great church where we can talk about this on an open basis, on a daily basis if we want. But to be able to go to something like that where you're surrounded by people who get you, who know your story and still love you, it's just awesome.
And what to me is the proof that's in the pudding is anyone can go to a retreat one time because they don't really know what's going to be there. Mm-hmm. I've never in my life, and I've been to a ton of meetings, ton of retreats, seen something where guys keep coming back. I mean, the same guys year after year after year after year. And I think that guys go to retreat for 2 reasons: content and connection.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful about what you're doing is, though you always have great content because you bring in really good speakers, but it's about connection. And the guys are coming regardless of who the speaker is, doesn't matter.
Yep.
And they just love that connection. And for them to just keep coming is all you need to know about the value that's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is really good.
And by the way, I'm not being paid to say that. I mean,
Yeah.
totally mean it. There's nothing else like it.
There's one guy that comes every year. He's kind of, I don't know, but he's all right. We'll let him come back again this year.
Exactly.
So we talk about sobriety. I think that the title we put on this thing was, what did I say? Long lasting or not shelf life, but life expectancy of sobriety. Maybe talk a little bit about not just sobriety. What about those people, those men, maybe that focus too much on I've been sober for 5 years, I've been sober for 3 years, I haven't acted out anything in any way sexually for whatever time frame, and they kind of push that back on their wife as a weapon. They weaponize their sobriety, but they're still in their heart haven't changed. What's your thoughts on, other than just sobriety, what are some of the crucial steps or goals, not goals, but steps that they need to take besides just counting days?
Well, yeah, I mean, depth matters more than length, and length is important, no question. But I think we kind of start out. I've got a friend who says it like this. So we kind of start out where we trivialize it, and it's like it's not really even an issue. Or if it is, everybody does it. I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just a guy. And we go from trivial to trapped, where we're like, okay, I see it's a problem. I don't know what to do about it. I'm trapped. I'm living in this addiction. And then we go to a third phase that's transactional, that says, if I will go to meetings, make calls, work the 12 steps, do the Conquer, do Denison's group, do whatever, then the activity will equal sobriety. And it does. But it's very much of a checking the box thing. Mm-hmm. And then we go from being trivializing it to trap to transactional to transformational, where God is changing the heart. 2 Corinthians 5:17 talks about God changing us, the transformation. But in the Greek language, if any man be in Christ is a new creature, is a linear action verb, meaning he is becoming a new creature. So it's transformational. It's like relapse is not an event, it's a process. Mm-hmm. It recovers the same way. It's not an event. I go back to this date and therefore I'm recovered or I'm doing great. It's a process. And so for me, the answer to that is it's hard to avoid the comparison trap. Yeah. And that's why I don't emphasize dates a whole lot, because when we hear dates, we measure ourselves by that. Mm-hmm. And so for me, the more important thing is the depth of what's going on behind that. What is it that's transforming within me? It's in sobriety, I do what I got to do. In recovery, I do what I want to do, and they align because the heart has changed. So it doesn't happen overnight, for sure. It's a long process. And I'm committed to the process more than the event. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a transformation thing is key. We have to be able to do more than just become sober and stop acting out. That's just checking a box. Go ahead.
Which kind of leads me, if I could, the second of these 6 things that plays into that is, as we get further along in our sobriety, my observation is we start losing motivation, because most of us got into this because we were caught. And because we were caught, we were about to lose our career, our marriage, our children, our finances, whatever. Mm-hmm. Our ministry. It's like, okay, I've got to react. I got to do something about this. Well, that's not going to stay up there forever. That's going to wane. The motivation is going to drop down. So the second thing that, for me, that I've learned in these 11 years of sobriety is that discipline trumps motivation. I pray for motivation. God, just give me the motivation to do sobriety work. Motivate me, give me that passion. And what God is saying to me is, what you really need is not the motivation, you need discipline. Mm-hmm. This is a spiritual battle, but Paul talks more about discipline than he does demons. And so it's not about intensity, it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. That says, I'm going to get out of bed, I'm going to do the work every single day. including the days that I don't feel like it. So that's the second thing for me is discipline trumps motivation.
That's awesome. What's number three?
Number three, and this is something that I never thought about until fairly recently, is that environment is everything. And here's what I mean by that. We know we can't do it alone. We know that we in isolation we find addiction. In groups and in community we find sobriety and recovery. But broader than that, the environment I choose to put myself in day to day is going to highly determine my level of sobriety. And here's a study that was done I read about recently. It was really interesting that heroin addicts that were in Vietnam during the Vietnam War came back, and I don't remember the exact numbers. You could look it up easily enough. But the study showed that of the guys that got addicted to heroin when they were in Vietnam and they came back to the United States, that the guys that didn't do any recovery work at all, that didn't seek help, didn't do counseling, didn't do therapy, I want to say it was 80% overcame the addiction. It was a really high number. Who did not even seek help. 80%, I believe, was the number that beat the addiction completely on their own. But a separate study showed that guys addicted to heroin in the United States who went to an in-house treatment center, not just one, but different centers for several weeks or months, and came back home, the vast majority of them relapsed. So why is it that the guys that came back from Vietnam did not relapse? They got sober and stayed sober without any help at all. But the guys at the very highest level of professional help relapsed. And the answer was environment. The guys that went to Vietnam, they got hooked on drugs, on heroin in that setting. So when they came back to the States, they were back in a setting, an environment where they never acted out before. They'd not used drugs. But the other group, they went to the treatment center, which is great. But when they came back, they returned to the same setting, the same environment, and they relapsed. So the point is, change your environment up. Go to different places, vacation different places, find different restaurants. For us, we moved across the country, which not because of this, but it sure helped. So environment is huge. Move yourself away from the setting the best you can wherein you acted out so much. Get off social media. If you acted out on social media, Facebook, other social media platforms. For me, it meant certain restaurants I would avoid. It meant selling my car. I hadn't acted out in the car, but I used that car to drive around and do stuff. It was a trigger for me and my wife, so I got rid of the car. So anything, hobbies that I had, I changed up the hobbies just to, I love the old hobbies, but just to create a completely new environment, because within that new environment, I no longer have the triggers that are associated with the life that I was living before.
Yeah, that's so true. That's really good. Yeah, we talk about that a lot too. Michelle and I talked that there's, you may have to change friends for a while.
Yes.
You may have to set up boundaries with family to get to in an environment that is whole and healthy for you for a time at least. Maybe you can go back, maybe you can't. But we did a lot of that too as well, changing environments. I truly believe in our story. We live in Maryland now. We grew up in Pennsylvania. And 11 years ago, it's actually almost 12 years ago, we moved to Maryland, which is for work, which is where our story came out. Down here, out of the surroundings of our home setting. So I think that in itself helped us tremendously, because we were here. We were only here and we only knew each other at that point for the most part. And we started going to a church during that time, right when our story came out, right when the discovery happened. And just getting in with that different environment, different people, different setting, was very instrumental in helping us in our progress, in our journey. So I think for a time, you're going to have to do a lot of those changes, and it may involve different friends and different boundaries that may be hard, but it's worth it to stay in a healthy place.
Agree. Yep. Well, want me to hit number 4?
Hit it.
All right. The best way to make it easier to do the right thing is to make it harder to do the wrong thing. In other words, when it comes to recovery, we tend to think, I need to do the right thing, stay sober, stay off pornography, don't masturbate, none of these texting relationships. or
Hmm.
whatever. So I just don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. We want to avoid all the wrong stuff. I'll talk more about that in number 5 in a second. But the best way to avoid doing the hard thing or the wrong thing is by making it easier, or the best way to make it easier to do the right thing, make it hard to do the wrong thing.
Hmm.
And here's a case study that was done, and it's also in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It was about a hospital where there was a break room. And someone who worked there noticed that there was a refrigerator in the break room that was very accessible. And all the workers, doctors, nurses, other employees were welcome to take anything out of that they wanted. So they'd go into the refrigerator. It was stocked with unhealthy snacks for the most part. And so they're taking sodas, they're taking different refreshments and candy bars and chips and whatever was in that refrigerator and eating it. And it was not healthy, wasn't a good look. Patients would see them walking around eating this stuff.
Hmm.
And so someone who was not responsible for that, but one of the doctors noticed this and thought, that's not healthy, and happened to know that there was also another refrigerator in the break room, but it was in the back of the room. And everybody knew it was there. It was just as accessible, but it was in the back. And so you had to really work to get there. You had to walk to the back to get there. And he went back and looked in that refrigerator, and it had healthy stuff. It had the right drinks, the right water, the right snacks, low carb, everything. It was, the healthy stuff was there. So all he did was one night between shifts, he reversed the stuff that was in the two refrigerators. He made the stuff that was unhealthy harder to get to, stuff that was healthy easier to get to. And then he stood back and watched. He wanted to see, are people going to take a few extra steps to get the stuff they really want, even though it's unhealthy? Or will they just go for whatever's convenient?
Hmm.
And almost a person, they went for what was convenient. And so the point of the story was that the best way to start to make it easier to do the right thing is to make it harder to do the wrong thing.
Right.
So for me, that means taking my phone and not taking it in the restroom, or not being up late at night on my phone, or not hanging out in certain places, or
Hmm.
communicating with a certain crowd. Make it harder to do the wrong thing. And in doing that, I will create a vacuum where it is replaced with the right thing. And there's so many wrong things we can do.
Right.
Give you one example. There's an airline pilot that I've worked with in recovery. And what he does when he flies, which is several times a week, is when he gets to the room, he takes his remote to the TV and he takes it to the front desk and gives it to them. And he doesn't take it back. They have to go put it back in the room the next day after he's left. And he does that to make it harder to do the wrong thing. And then because he's making it harder to do the wrong thing, what does he do before he goes to sleep? He reads the Bible, or he reads recovery material, which he never would have done before, but it's easier to do the right thing because he just made it harder to do the wrong thing.
Hmm. That's so true with your phone. It's so easy to do the wrong thing with a phone in your pocket all the time. So maybe
Yes.
it's having lockers on it. Maybe it's having, like you said, no social media, whatever it takes, because we're one click away from relapse. And you
Absolutely.
got to make it difficult. All right, what number are we up to?
All right, number 5. Number 5 is to create loss aversion. And what I mean by that is that a study was done that I read about a couple of months ago that was really interesting, that found that the power of loss aversion is 2.5 times greater than the power of success or gain. And the example is used is they did a study where they took guys that were in casinos, and then they also did it away from casinos, just in private settings, where they would offer somebody, they would say, put up a sizable amount of money that you have. It had to be a lot of money. And let's say it's $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, I'm going to flip a coin. I'm going to do a roulette board that's going to come up black or red. And however we do this, you've got a 50-50 chance of being right. Put $1,000 on the table. If you're right, you get $2,000. If you're wrong, you walk away with nothing. And the question, they framed it different ways, but it was always putting a sizable amount of money. You had a 50-50 chance of winning, where you double it, or losing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked the people, are you willing to do that? And almost nobody would do it, because the fear of losing that is far more powerful than the positive feel of getting what you could get in return on the other side. And so when it comes to recovery, it's important to remember the loss aversion. It's what I call the end game, meaning when I'm thinking about acting out, remind myself, what happens if I do this? There's going to be pain, there's going to be shame, I'm going to feel terrible, there's going to be guilt. More than that, my wife will eventually find out. That will set us way back. It might end the marriage, might end the ministry. I have a recovery plan in place that our board has reviewed that says, if there's a relapse, this is what it's going to cost me. If there are two, I'm done. And that sounds like a manipulating way to force my way into sobriety, but I see it as paying the piper, as something that I need to. How can I lead someone to where I'm not? So it makes sense on that front, and it also serves as loss aversion is a great motivator. My dermatologist cut out a cancer out of my nose the other day, took a deal out of my back. I got 8 stitches, so we're going to biopsy this. Stay out of the sun more. Well, that's loss aversion. I'd rather be in the sun more because I love the sun, but I really don't want to die. And so the loss aversion is more powerful. So in recovery, I need to constantly remind myself what this is going to cost me if I don't do it.
Yeah. And I'm a visual guy. You need to make those things somewhere.
Yeah.
That are close and you have access to them. You know, I was at a conference a long time ago, early on, where they said, find a picture of your wife when she was a little girl, have it on your phone. You know, we just talked to the other day about putting the image of a pause button or stop button as your screensaver on your phone. You know, take that second breath, take that stop, that moment to think about, what's this going to cost me? Because, like you say, it's not something that just happens out of the blue. It's a process of multiple decisions that takes you down to that road of relapse again. So, good stuff. All right.
Number 6, persistence equals progress. Just staying at it. You don't fail if you have a slip or relapse. You fail if you quit. Persistence equals progress. They did there was a class at University of Florida, photography class, and they divided the class into 2 groups. And the professor for one group said, your assignment, it's going to determine your grade, is to take as many photographs as you want, but you're only going to turn in 1 at the end of the semester. And if your photograph is really, really, really good, you get an A. If it's really good, you get a B. If it's okay, you get a C, and so forth. But only turn in 1 picture. The other half of the class, he said, your assignment is to turn in 100 pictures. And if you turn in 100 pictures, doesn't matter how good they are, you get an A. You just have to do 100 pictures. If you turn in 90 pictures, you get a B, 80, you get a C, and so forth. Just turn them in, doesn't matter how good they are. And so this half, they all turned in 1, knowing that their entire grade depended on that 1 picture. The other group, 100 pictures, knowing the quality of the picture didn't matter at all. It was just getting the quantity done. And then here's what they found. Invariably, which group produced the best pictures? Now, we would assume it would be the first group. Right. Because their whole assignment was to create a great picture. Your grade depended on it. But it was not. It was the other group. Even though they didn't have the pressure of a grade writing on it. And the study, what it found, what it concluded was that the more we do something, the better we get at it. And so we may take 99 pictures that aren't very good, but that 1 is going to be a gem. It's like when you go on a vacation, take your phone, you're taking all these pictures, and we're not professional photographers. And every now and then I'll look back and I'm like, whoa, that picture looks really good. Most of them look like dog's breath, but some of them come out great. So in recovery, persistence, it says just stay at it, keep working it, keep going to meetings. You might stumble. No one gets it perfect. No one gets it right the first time. But don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. So persistence is how we find progress. Just staying at it, doing the work, not giving up.
So are you saying that sobriety is not a destination?
Sobriety is not a destination. It is a direction. Yes. And direction trumps destination.
Absolutely.
Now, my job every day is not worry about where I'm going to end up. It's where I'm going. And I've got to know that direction I'm going and do the things to get me in that direction, and then trust that the destination's going to take care of itself. It's kind of like I think about 2 Chronicles 32, the story of Hezekiah, and the enemy was coming, and so he did a couple of things. One is he dried up the water outside the city so the enemy wouldn't have water to drink, so they couldn't stay there and keep attacking forever. Another thing he did is he fortified the walls so no one could get in and attack. And then he built a watchtower so they could see the enemy coming. And then he built a second wall of defense. And once he did all of that, the enemy ended up not even attacking. So sometimes we go in the right direction doing things. So as it turns out, we didn't even have to do that. For example, there's a lot of guys that are focused on not taking the phone in the restroom. When what if they did? They'd probably be fine. I go to 2 recovery meetings every week for my own sobriety. What if I did one? I'd probably be fine, but I don't want to find out.
Yeah,
So,
you want to roll that dice?
Yes, it's better to build guardrails you don't need than to not build one you did.
Well said.
And so going in that right direction, persistence, staying at it equals progress.
Yeah, that's so good. So true. Any more you got?
No, that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
That's enough.
If I had any more, you wouldn't have me back on in a few months.
The proof's in the pudding. Those 6 work, right?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I got a question for you, kind of segueing a little bit off of this, but it's an up and coming thing I think that we all have to think about. But how do you feel, or have you gotten involved with or worked through any situations with AI and how that's impacting recovery? It's even impacting, we're seeing impacting people relating with other people, with their spouses. They're using AI to do things that generally they would never do or say, or saying it differently, or I don't know. And just also the other part of AI is how dark it can be.
Yeah, 2 thoughts I have on that, and I'm no expert on it. I can barely spell AI, but I know that it bypasses intimacy because we create this way that we can communicate apart from actually communicating. And the other thing is just what it's done to the porn world. I know a guy that he's in one of my groups who his struggle is that he creates porn images. And that's what he does. He just on AI, he create, and I'm like, how crazy is that? I mean, I've asked him that. How sick is this? There are, I don't know how many porn images are already out there available to you. Why do you have to go creating your own? And he said, because I can't ever find the right thing. And that's the thing is having more of something that doesn't satisfy is not going to satisfy. So more images, more, and it still doesn't satisfy. So he creates his own, and then that still doesn't satisfy. He's still creating more beyond that. And so it creates this never-ending search for something and always coming up short, and certainly bypasses intimacy. I'm thinking 3 years from now, we'll have this thing figured out, and there will be more books written on that one subject than anything else when it comes to recovery and how that plays into it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a dark place to go.
Yeah.
Any other things that you think could be relevant to long-lasting recovery, whether it's emotional intelligence? It's, we both know what intimacy anorexia is, whether it's sobriety from behaviors, anything else that you can think of that would be helpful for those that might be watching this in the future?
Yeah, I think about connection, and I've probably shared this at one of the retreats. I'm wanting to follow not just what Jesus said, but what he did. And we've got one sermon, we've got 35 parables, but we also have 3 years of living that we can analyze with him. And when we do that, we have what is known as the man code. And for me, those connections, the further I go in my recovery, the more value I see in that. Jesus had 5 numbers that were real important to him. He had the number 1. He was always getting away, or often getting away, to be alone with the Father at night. And when he was missing, they knew where to find him because he did it so often. The book of Luke says he went off to the mountain as was his custom. So I need to really focus on that 1. And if I'm not right there, I'm not going to be right here. And then the number 3, an accountability group, 3 guys or so. For me, you're that. Having guys that I know I can talk to about anything. Jesus had Peter, James, and John. They're the only ones that were there when he raised Jairus' daughter from the dead. They're the only ones who were at the Mount of Transfiguration and went to the garden with him. He did more with those 3 guys than he did the other 9. And those 3 guys accomplished more than the other 9. That can't be a coincidence. Mm-hmm. So having that connection with that inner circle, the third number is the 12, small group. We all need to be in a small group, need to be in a recovery group, can't do this alone. And then the number 120, the 12 for Jesus was the small group, the disciples. Number 120, we see that in the book of Acts, that's the church. Can't do this apart from the body of Christ.
Absolutely.
Got to be in a church, one that is a good environment for recovery. And then the number 5,000, the feeding of the 5,000. It's the only miracle other than the resurrection found in all 4 Gospels. Jesus was connected with the community. So I need to do that as well. And if I'm not, then I'm looking inward too much. I need that balance. And right. So if I'm going to have real recovery, I need the right connections. And I don't get to choose what that looks like. I can't say, well, I'm only going to do this. If I'm going to be like Christ, then I've got to do what Christ did. And that means focusing on the 1, the 3, the 12, the 120, 5,000. There needs to be a balance of connection that for me is a foundation for long-term sobriety.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great analogy. I think that was in your advanced recovery book, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Good principle.
No, that's huge for me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how could they reach you or their Still Hope Ministry?
I'll give our email and also my cell number. We do, as Tom said, a daily devotional called the Recovery Minute. If anyone would like to receive it, would love to send it to you. Just reach out to us with your email. My email is mark, M-A-R-K, at there'sstillhope.org. And our website is there'sstillhope.org. My cell number here in Florida is 941-526-4700. It's 941-526-4700. I've written a book called Recovery Rules. It's 100 Rules of Recovery, and I send those out every day as a text. So if anyone would like to receive that, just reach out to me. I'd love to add you to that list, and every day you'll get a little pithy statement about recovery that hopefully will be a benefit to you. And love to work with you. If anyone needs help, just reach out to us. We'll love to partner with you. And again, I always recommend Tom and Michelle. There's a lot of guys that are doing recovery work, but very few that are doing it with their wives. And that's what Tom and I have in common, is our wives are part of this. And for those of anyone that's looking for a legit couple that's in this space, Tom, you have provided an anchor and an example for so many of us with that. So guys, don't just watch this podcast, reach out to Tom and Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like having a couple, especially when you're walking through something like disclosure or something like that, or just in recovery alone with a couple that have been through it together as well. And that can help the two of you, not just individually, because it's a 3-phase recovery. The coupleship is a very integral part of the recovery journey. So yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions for Mark or for us. Reach out, put them in the comments. We can try and answer them. Email. Our email is at tableministry.com. You can definitely put in an email at info@tableministry.com to get some more information on what we do here, as well as reach out to Mark. Definitely like and share and follow and all that stuff on social media to get this out there to more people. Love to hear your feedback. And Mark, again, it's always great to be with you and talk with you and spend some time together. I know you're a busy man, got a lot of stuff going on. How many groups do you have going on right now?
Just started our 12th group that we lead, and then have several others that you guys are leading using our stuff. But we do an in-person group here. Well, actually 2. I just handed one off. And then do so a total of 12 each week.
Yeah, so you definitely a busy man. So again, appreciate you taking the time out.
Thanks, Tom. It's a privilege being with me. I really appreciate your ministry and your friendship.
All right, take care. Me too.
Thanks.